Tzarayim Tov. We continue in the Sefer Eshpoich Lefonov Sichi. We are in chapter 11, discussing what do you do if you don't have the heart or the feelings or the emotions to speak to Hashem. We're at the bottom of page Kuf Mem Dalid, right at the bottom. And the Rebbe is telling us what things you can say and how valuable these times are as well. And he gives us more advice. They asked Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bender the following question. A person feels he has no words to come out of him during his HISBODEDUS. So can he say some of the prayers that are in the Sefer that Rabbi Nosson wrote called Likutei Tfilos? There's a whole book of dozens and dozens, hundreds of tfilos that Rabbi Nosson created to dovetail the teachings of Rabbi Nachman. So maybe I have nothing to say in my HISBODEDUS, so let me say one of those tfilos. So is that an appropriate thing? So what did he answer? Hey, Shiv Shahayu Basechi, look at this, Ben Chasidei Kama. He said there are different opinions in the earlier Breslover Hasidim about that. Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, but Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bender himself said, because the truth is, HISBODEDUS tzrich lios ma'nekuda hasheiches libo. He's supposed to come from the point that is connected to your heart. K'mokein he tzrich level mitoch libo v'nafshel mispal. That's also come from the heart of and the soul of the person who's praying. Dover sheni yochel liskaim kishmal tfilos sur melukudei tfilos. It's not going to be something that can happen when you're taking something also from a prearranged text of Likutei Tfilos. In other words, if you're reading Likutei Tfilos, that's also not your words. It's the words of Rabbi Nosson regarding how we should pray to be able to integrate what we are learning. So at first blush, it's not an optimal thing to do at all. Similarly, Rabbi Nachman says in his Likutei Moharan, but tzarich lechadesh tamid. You have to always bring new ideas. Levakesh b'chol pam betachtonim. You have to search out every time below. V'divrei ritzuyim chadashim, appropriate new words. Kshesh lo taras halev, you have a purity of heart. As they zoch ledar b'chol pam divorim chadashim. You'll be able to say new words. So saying the Likutei Tfilos is not new words. So really, it would not be the best idea. But a good, wondrous piece of advice for the one who mamish feels that he's got nothing to say. Got nothing to say. Okay. Begin your HISBODEDUS with one of the Likutei Tfilos. Why? There are two virtues to this. Ha'achas, number one, when you pray from Likutei Tfilos, your heart opens up, you will merit to be aroused and to say something else. Remember, they now have Likutei Tfilos in English. It's a 5-volume small pocket set, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 5 volumes. And you can say it in English. I know in Hebrew, you're not going to understand it again. But if it's in English, you will. Hashni, the second point is, the words, the wondrous words of Rabbi Nosson. It just saturates the person with a spirit of talk before Hashem. It will teach you how to pray to Hashem. It will be, in other words, you're going to see how a tzaddik talks to Hashem. So, okay, maybe you'll use some of that style, so to speak. At least it'll get you in the ball game, so to speak. It's not lechatchila, for sure not lechatchila. But if you got nothing to say, you could look it up and it's by topic. Even you can get to English, it's 5 volumes in English. It talks about the topics. So you could pick a topic, you're feeling whatever, ashamed or whatever, or you're in a lot of pressure or whatever. and you look at that, you just do the tefillah and start with that. And just read it slowly. And although it's not your words, but you're going to see how a tzaddik does arouse himself to talk to Hashem.
Priming the pump.
Yeah, priming the pump. That's a good way of saying that. But it is not the be all and end all. Clearly not. If like you're at the end of the line, okay, you could use it. But then you'd have to get a copy of that sefer. So, and I don't believe it's on Sephiria, but and to get the English one, you'd have to buy it, I believe.
Did Rabbi Nachman collect tefillos?
There's all kinds of Breslov books, all kinds of books in English. You have to take a look and see what they got. I'm sure you can find online some tefillos that are in English. Okay, now, next section. Even if you're not able to express with your lips and to say beautiful words, except for the following, even if you only can say, Hashem rachem alai, Hashem have mercy on me. Or even if you just say, Rabbeinu Shalom. So Zegam Togmo, that's also good. And he brings from the Likutei Maran. And he said, even if you can only say one word. Whoa, what happened? The whole thing just jumped out of me there. Whoa, where am I supposed to go now?
All tab, switch.
Okay, anyway, I don't know that sometimes it just does these tricks. So you only have one word to say, just keep saying it over and over and over. Even if you're going to spend a lot of days just with that word, it's also good. Should be strong and keep repeating the words multiple times. Why? Until Hashem will have mercy on you and will open your mouth and you'll be able to express the words you want to say. You got to keep trying. Just can't walk away. You walk away and give up. Hashem says he gave up. Come back and every day you just say Rabbeinu Shalom. You say Rabbeinu Shalom for 15 minutes. He's not going to let you hang that way for weeks and weeks on end without putting some words in your mouth.
Be sick of your asking.
I'm sorry?
Be sick of your asking.
You're not even asking. You're just saying Rabbeinu Shalom. That's all. We should also emphasize, it's very important to make a point to show how precious this HISBODEDUS is, even when you're in the dark and there's total concealment and there's no excitement and no arousal. Why? Because if you still have HISBODEDUS under those very not pleasant circumstances, it's a sign that you're nullifying yourself to Hashem's will. And you're accepting the yoke of his kingdom. Because there's no sane reason to sit and just keep saying Rabbeinu Shalom for 15 minutes. So why are you doing it? Because that's the only way you could finally maybe get to Hashem. And it's possible. This way of serving, it could be mamish greater than any other types of HISBODEDUS that are there, and it will be able to give you a gift from Shemayim, to be able to speak. Kizu matana mishemayim. In other words, when Hashem gives you a gift, it's better one thing in pain than 100 times without pain. Okay, so it's not to be minimized, the value of these words. Okay, let us continue. Ubelikute halachos explain shaderech liskos lechius lechachma l'seichel lochik kedusha. What's the way to reach liveliness, wisdom, and divine intellect and holiness? It happens b'dafka when you coronate Hashem, when you're not in the mood. Below cheshek. If you really want to merit the excitement, it's to do it when you're not excited. Okay, so that's number one. You got to just keep doing it. There's another piece of advice in the Sefer Chaim Moran. Somebody complained to the Rabbi that he wanted to be able to speak certain words of HISBODEDUS, and then he couldn't open his mouth at all. So what did the Rabbi tell him? He said, the Rabbi answers, Im K. So then just lie down and moan after moan. Why is he telling you to moan? It's a wordless request from Hashem to have mercy. And it's possible the reason, as we'll explain in another chapter in this sefer, that's called anocha, moaning. Moaning and sighing has a tremendous power to draw forth life from a person. Can also break up the arrogance of the body, the brazenness. It can also separate a person from the rope that's tying him down from the other side and connect him to the rope of Kedusha.
It's interesting. In Brachos, we learn not to mourn. So that mourning is
for what?
For, I don't know, your body aching.
This is your moaning because you can't talk to Hashem. That's a good reason to moan. That's why there's those who moan before they start the HISBODEDUS. Because through the moaning and the groaning, you learn to connect Hashem and therefore to explain your words. Okay. Now, Rabbi Nosson in his Sefer Alim L'Trufa gives another piece of advice. And he says, we could skip the first couple lines, that sometimes things aren't working. So he says, you should start by just being quiet before Hashem with a great yearning. And hoping for great mercy. Person says, listen, you just be quiet, say Hashem. In your mind, say, Hashem should have so much mercy, I don't even know what to say. I have nothing to say. I'm a mute. As the pasuk says, I'm a mute, I can't know what else. Because it appears I tried many times, but I'm still so far away. Everybody knows themselves. Hashem is always filled with mercy. And therefore, Hashem will have enough mercy on you. He'll open up your mouth like a mute is opened up. Mamish, like a mute person whose mouth is open to speak. Yes, can I help you? 2:00. You're a little bit early, but you're welcome to sit in the shul, or you could sit here, whatever you want. We're learning, but you could do whatever you like. Okay, it continues. V'sefer, it's fine. V'sefer Avnei Barzel, in that sefer Kosav, Shechad Islona and Lifnei Moreinu Rabbi Nosson. Somebody complaining from Rabbi Nosson. She'elo diburim beis HISBODEDUS. He had no words at his times of HISBODEDUS. Umoreinu Rabbi Nosson Garbo, and Rabbi Nosson screamed at him. He scolded him and said, "Hachi ein chayachom." Doing this again. I don't know why that's happening. He says, Ein chayachom, can't you say, Rebbeinu Shalom, Ratav Emich, Zogmin, Toizen Tamol, Rebbeinu Shalom. That's the Yiddish, my poor English Yiddish. Pirish, what does it mean? Rabbi Nosson said, Ein chayachom, Rebbeinu Shalom, can't you say, Hashem save me? Say 1,000 times Rebbeinu Shalom. That's it. Just say 1,000 times Rabbeinu Shalom. And when somebody praised before him, someone who said, they said about somebody, he knows 1,000 pages of Gemara by heart. So Rab Nosson said, Oizer, that's the name of the tzaddik. His name was Oizer. Ken Toizen Mol Zogen Rabbeinu Shalom. Pirish, Oizer. Can you say Rabbeinu Shalom 1,000 times? Whereas they were telling us, and he gives you the background now. Rabbi Oizer, Yitamud Muvak Shel Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Oizer, whoever his last name was, he was a great student of Rabbi Nosson. Vaya Gam Lamden, he was a great scholar. He really served Hashem a lot. For all that, as Hashem Mesiras Nefesh, Mama served Hashem with Mesiras Nefesh, with fire. And about such a person, Rabbi Nosson said his words. They're saying, oh, Rabbi Oizer knows 1,000 pages of Gemara. So he says, but can he say Rabbeinu Shalom 1,000 times? So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bender explains the story. All these stories in explanation. He says, Rabbi Oizer, tzaddik v'lamda. He was a tzaddik in a lamda. V'ladas elef dape Gemara zedover godel ma'od l'misha de'el. To know 1,000 pages of Gemara, that's a big thing for those who really understand what that means. Doesn't mean he learned 1,000. He knows it. He can spit it out. He knows it. It's clear. Elef dape Gemara im elef pamim Rabbeinu Shalom. 1,000 pages of Gemara with 1,000 times saying Rabbeinu Shalom. That's a totally different reality. That was the greatness of Rabbi Oizer, that not only did he know 1,000 pages of Gemara, but he could say Rabbeinu Shalom 1,000 times. And this leads us to one of the most famous vorts of the Baal Shem Tov on the following Gemara. It's one of the best vorts that I've heard from him. Gemara is in Chagiga, and they're talking about the pasuk in Malachi. It's a Vishavtem Reisem, sit and see. Bein tzaddik l'rosh, between a tzaddik and a rasha. What's the difference between a tzaddik and a rasha? Bein oved elokim l'asher lo avdu, and between someone who serves Hashem and someone who doesn't serve. So Gemara asks the obvious question: Hainu tzaddik, hainu oved elokim. A tzaddik is someone who serves Hashem. Hainu rasha, hainu asher lo avdu. A rasha who doesn't serve Hashem. Why do we have to repeat the same idea twice? Amarle, he says, there's avdu, velo avdu. In the second group of serving and not serving, Tareyut Tzadiki Gemara Ninu. They're both talking about Tzadiki Gemara. There's a difference between a tzaddik and a rasha. And then in the tzaddik category, there's two categories. Those who serve Hashem and don't serve Hashem. What does that mean? You're a tzaddik, you don't serve Hashem. He says, famous line, you cannot compare a person who studies his lesson 100 times. The guy learns it 101 times. This is one of the most difficult Gemaras. And the Litvaks have a big problem trying to explain this Gemara. Big problem. Because what's in 100 and 101? It's one more. So the Litvish approach is, when you do 100, you feel you've finished. It's like a quantifiable number. And you figure, I can't do more than 100. So if you do one more, it's like, no, it can't compare. Very weak. That's the answer I heard for years and years and years. That's what the Yeshivish world gives such an answer. They're saying, well, even if you think you know it, you're still doing it. But it doesn't light a candle to the Baal Shem Tov's answer. Because you got to remember what echad means. Remember, everything Gemara is code. You can't compare someone who learns 100 times, below echad, but he's learning it without the one. The one unique one in the world, which is Hashem. You can't compare a person who learns his studies 100 times without Hashem. There's at 100 with the one. He's learning it with the one. Hashem resides in his learning. His learning is mamish for the sake of learning. And he's bound to the chief of the world. You can learn Gemara. You can learn 100 pages. You can know 100 pages back and forth. But quite often, there's a great trap. You forget who you're learning it for. You're not feeling you're learning it with Hashem. And that's even what Reb Chaim Volozhin says. It goes to Gemara, Medrash. Medrash says that when you're learning, Hashem's learning with you. Now, are you aware of it or not? Do you think about it or not? When you sit down and learn Gemara, you say, okay, Rabbi Hashem, let's learn a little Gemara together. Hashem, I want to understand your Torah. And these tzaddikim are the vehicle, so to speak, your mouthpiece of your holy Torah. Hashem, I want to learn your Torah. Please help me understand your Torah. You can't compare a person who learns it, but it's just not with Hashem. We say, well, of course, why else are you doing it? That doesn't mean anything. If you're not cognizant and aware of Hashem when you're learning, it's not the same. And that's what it means. You could be a tzaddik, but you're not Oved Elokim. You're not serving Hashem. You're just doing a routine. There's routines in life. But you have to be cognizant and cognitively aware that you're learning with HaKadosh Baruch Hu at that time. To Shoina Pirka Mea Pamim Ve'echad, with the one. That's the big difference. And that's what he's saying, where you can learn 1,000 Dava Gemara, but he said, can you say 1,000 times Rabbeinu Shalom? Is Hashem there in everything that you're involved with, especially in the learning? And he continues on Kuf Memches. He may learn his parak 100 times. Only if it's with Hashem is it considered you're serving Hashem. And that's why that answers the question why you sometimes you have big Torah scholars who don't have good midos, or Torah scholars who do things that are illegal. And this question is this Orthodox Jews who do this? The answer is he was never doing it with Hashem in mind. You could have big Rosh Yeshivas, and they're great and they're famous and popular, but it's possible the HR can confuse them and he can forget about Hashem. He's more into his own ego of giving a good shir and having a great following and understanding what the will of Hashem. You have to be great, great people to be learning with Hashem. I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, but we've been learning in the Navi this week, last week. You don't come much greater than Achitofel. Achitofel, there wasn't anybody who held a candle to Achitofel's brilliance in Torah. And still ain't lo chelech l'elamah. There's no chelech l'elamah. At the end of the day, he wanted to be the king of Yisrael. And when he saw his ideas wouldn't happen, he committed suicide with all the Torah that he learned. You know why? Because he wasn't learning it with Hashem. That's a very important point. And this is the great praise Rabbi Nosson is saying. From the praise of Rabbi Nosson, of this tzaddik Rabbi Ozer, we can appreciate the great yearning of Rabbi Ozer. Even when you have an arousal, you still are able to repeat it so many times. Let's say, okay, I'm going to say Rabbeinu Shalom. But there's going to be a limit. How many times do you say Rabbeinu Shalom? Try it. You'll make yourself crazy. Rabbeinu Shalom. Rabbeinu Shalom. How many times are you going to? Rabbi Ozer, he would say it 1,000 times. There could be two reasons why he merited to do this. One is simple. He would be totally nullified to the words of the Rebbe. The Rebbe said it, that's Kodesh. It makes sense or not? The Rebbe says, you only just say Rabbi Shalom, that's a good thing. Even if you don't feel that you're pouring your heart out the way you want to. If the Rebbe says to it, that's what you do. So that's one virtue. Hashniya, the second one is, person gets aroused from a pasuk or from a few words. He'll review it a few times till he, gets calmed down. He feels good. To say Rabbi Shalom 1,000 times. It means the person can't be calmed down till he says it 1,000 times.
That's the goal.
That's how excited he is. That's the level of someone whose heart is on fire towards Hashem. If you're, it's almost lahavdil. People who are drug addicts can never get enough drugs. So he's addicted to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I can't get enough of that idea of saying Hashem's name. It's not enough. Rabbi Yossi says, well, that was his greatness. Rabbi Yossi, he had both reasons. If the Rebbe said it, he would do it. And that was the deep yearning that came from him. So therefore, what we are being told, if we're struggling in our HISBODEDUS and you can't find the words, just say Rabbi Shalom. And just with feeling and meaning. And you're just saying his name. That's it. It will open up things for you. Again, based on what we were talking about yesterday, where your speech opens up your neshama, and Hashem will help you accomplish that. Okay, we got time for another piece here. But Medrash Rabbah speaks on the famous pasuk in Yirmiyahu, Haben Yakir li Ephraim im Yeled Shashua. My son, my precious son Ephraim, the child of my delight. The Medrash adds, what kind of child are we speaking about? Kiben Shtayim ben Sholosh, a 2 or 3-year-old. When Hashem is talking about the Jewish people, he's calling us Ephraim, but it's the Jewish people. And we're saying that the Jewish people are like a child of our delight. So how old of a child? 2 or 3 years old. Rabbi Acha says, Levi Bar Sisi ben Arba ben Chavish, 4 or 5 years old. So here's a great question. And we say this on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's part of the nusach of the Machzor. Haben Yakir li Ephraim. So what kind of incredibly intelligent words does a 2 or 3-year-old say? He doesn't even know how to express himself properly. And the pasuk saying, Shim Yehudi midaber lifnei Hashem ketinuk ben shtayim shalosh. If a Jew talks to Hashem like a child of 2 or 3 years old, Hunikri is called a Yeled HaShashur Mishal Hashem. It's called a child of Hashem's delight. Hashem delights in such a child. And even if you say he's 4 or 5 years old, he can speak a little more. But still, Diburu Dibur Shaltinuk ben Cham Arba V'Chamishanet. Avikain Hu Yoker Mod Hashem. It's still very pleasant before Hashem. We all know this. Parents, or especially grandparents, little kids, they're saying things. I don't even know what they're saying half the time. My 2 or 3-year-old grandchild says things. I'd say, my daughter, can you translate this? Whether I know or don't know what he's saying, it gives me tremendous pleasure that he's talking to me. He can't express himself properly. Okay? And here's the point. And why is that? Why is there that special charm? Why is it? Why is the father delighting with the kid who's the Yeled Hashuim Shalo? Shemedaber Kafi Shemedaber. He speaks the way he is. Yes, the child speaks the way he is. Avol Nesias Ha'inayim Shalav, but the eyes are directed to the father. Shemisrapik Alav, Medaber Alav, Kimera Mischak Lifnei Aviv. He cuddles up to his father. That's very precious. Elohim Shashrim, that's the delight. That's what the father is drawing forth with fistfuls. It's not the words, it's the child just coming to you and saying, wants to share something with you. I remember my father-in-law, blessed memory, as he was older, he was pretty deaf. And I knew. And my little children who were around, especially Mayor and a few others who were alive, was around when he was alive. And I knew he couldn't understand a word they were saying. I knew, and he would tell us. He would smile and laugh and be so happy. He says, I don't even know what they're saying. In English, he doesn't know, but he knows. So what's the glick? He says, but they're cuddling up to him. That's what's so precious. And each and every one of us can be like that. Who says we have to be so sophisticated? We're not making business presentations in front of a corporate to business. We're talking to Hashem. That's what the Navi is telling us. That's what the Navi is telling us. Yirmiyahu. that Hashem feels very close to us when we speak to him that way. Dalacha, you should know. This is what the Navi say. In the name of Hashem. If you come before me, and your eyes are, hanging on to me. V'lipcha, in your heart. And you open your mouth to speak to me. Your words are not arranged, and it's not a brilliant oratory talk. Even if you're not able to bring out long speeches filled with intelligence and a good thought and an order. If you feel that broken words are coming out, you should know. You should know this is very precious in my eyes. Should know in those moments Hashem is saying, you are the child of my delight at these times. And it's very interesting that that's the pasuk we say in the Yom Noraim. The Yom Noraim, that's what Hashem is telling us. The Yom Noraim is not a time to be worried and nervous and scared that Hashem wants to punish us. That's not what the Yom Noraim is about. No, the Noraim is about Hashem wants to give us another great, amazing year. But he wants us that, and the real focus, Yom Noraim, isn't what we say, but it's how we say. And we're looking to Hashem. We're looking up to Hashem, saying, Hashem, I know I'm unworthy, and I don't even know what to say. But I know one thing, Rabbi Shalom, you're it. And that's it. And I want nothing more than you. Just the way the little child. But the problem is, as we get older, we get so sophisticated. We're so talented. It's beneath our dignity to say that we should go to Hashem like a little baby. But if you want to succeed and get a good judgment, the whole judgment is, do you want to be with me this year or not be with me this year? That's all it's about. And that's what we have to look forward to. And that's why we're trying to practice with this, HISBODEDUS. Remember, in the days of the temple on Yom Kippur, they didn't have a sitter. What did they do a whole day on Yom Kippur? And HISBODEDUS to Hashem, just totally connected to Hashem. Tomorrow, we're going to do a piece that fits right into the Parshas HaShavua, exactly into the Parshas HaShavua, because at the end of Parshas Kiseitze, we read Parshas Zohar, and we will have some beautiful Torah on Parshas Zohar, and what Amalek tries to stop, and what we can do, even when we feel there are no words for us to say, it's going to be a keeper. Okay, sei gesund, everybody. An amazing second half.